up? This has been Falcon's Media Corner, and welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. And today I'm going to be talking about the 2020 erotic thriller known as Fatale. Now, Fatale was directed by Deon, director of Traffic and The Intruder, which I reviewed The Intruder but not Traffic because I don't know where to watch it, but I will try and watch that movie at some point. But I have seen The Intruder and I've already reviewed that. If you want to know my reviews for that film, you can check it out on my channel. But today I'm going to talk about his latest film that came out last year. That it was released in cinemas in the US as well as on VOD in December. And for the UK, it's been released on Netflix, so I watched it on Netflix today. So just to let you know how I watched it, since it's a 2020 film. But anyway, Fatale. Tells the story of this sports agent named Derek, played by Michael Ealy, who one night at a bar, he meets this mysterious woman named Valerie, played by Hilary Swank, who has a one night with her, and we soon realize that she's actually a police detective who's on an investigation to solve a bunch of murders that has happened. And meanwhile, we see for Michael Ealy's character Derek, we see he starts to kind of fall deep into a trap, and where he starts to risk everything that's going on with his life. Like he's risking his own life, his career, and even his family, and as well as for his wife. So we see Derek trying to figure out this whole situation that he is facing. So that's pretty much the story of Fatale. So for going into Fatale, I didn't even know what the movie what this movie was about though, because I didn't know who was directing it at first. I was familiar with the cast members. Michael Ealy, which he's talented. I've seen him in a few, some hits, but mostly just misses for me. Mostly, like these kind of films like he makes nowadays, like erotic psychological thrillers like this one, as well as like any other kind of thrillers out there he's done. And you've got Hilary Swank, which she's a really great actress, 2-time Oscar winner for Boys Don't Cry and $1 Million Baby, which that's the only one I've only seen that she's won for an Oscar. I haven't seen Boys Don't Cry, but I want to check out the movie at some point. But and I don't know many of the other cast members except for the two leads, Michael Ealy and Hilary Swank. And the director, I didn't even realize it was Deon, director of The Intruder and Traffic. Those two movies that I've just mentioned before. Again, I've not seen Traffic, but I have seen The Intruder. And I didn't know what to expect from this movie because I thought, like, is this going to be like The Intruder or something? But again, I watched this morning on Netflix, and this movie was average. I didn't hate this movie with a burning passion. I didn't flat out hate this movie. There are some positives which I'll get into which straight away, and then I'll get into my negatives later. The positives, Hilary Swank, she was really good as usual. She always pulls it off for her acting because she is such a great actress, and she's really good in this movie. And Michael Ealy, for his character, he did a fine performance, but for his characterization and development in this movie, it just felt like what I knew was going to be like. It felt just really average and just felt really bland. And for the other performances in this movie, for their characters, the way they were developed in this movie, they weren't even that good, and they just felt extremely bland. Like I said, the main performances, for the most part, they did a pretty solid, fine performances. Mainly Hilary Swank, I thought she was good in the movie. But Michael Ealy, I thought he was fine. And everyone else, I just thought they were just really bland. And the negatives for this movie is really its story. The story just felt unoriginal and very bland. It just feels so familiar to other erotic thrillers we've had before, like Fatal Attraction to name it the very first one to be. Because most of the films nowadays try to be like that, and none of it really works whatsoever for any movies, because, well, sometimes it can work, but mostly for other ones, like nowadays, they just don't do really well, and they just kind of die down, really. And we've had some, like, Sony Screen Gems ones, like, Obsessed being one of them, and many other ones that just really aren't that good. But really, though, for the story in this movie, it just feels really, again, unoriginal and just really bland. The direction of this movie just feels too over the top, and just feels like his last film I did see from him that he directed, which was The Intruder. The direction for this movie, it felt too over the top and just felt like over dramatic, because there are some scenes in this movie that tries to be melodramatic and it does not work whatsoever, and it just fails at it. And as well as for like some of the over the top moments, when there are some moments that just can't kind of like come off as unintentionally funny as like bad, even though I wasn't laughing for any of those scenes because I was just getting really bored. And the writing in this movie as well, it was just really, it just fails at it because there was no good character development. I just didn't really buy for any of the characters in this movie for what they were doing, particularly Michael Ealy's character, because I didn't really feel anything like what was going on with him in the movie. Because when we first introduced to him in the movie, we hear his narration, like saying about he had a perfect life until it kind of all changed for himself. And after that, when we see the movie title appear on screen like that, it just felt like just what I knew was gonna happen. But in the end, Fatale, it was average. It just wasn't a good movie. I didn't hate this movie. It's not a really bad movie. It's not like one of the worst thrillers I've ever seen in my life, like any of the terrible thrillers I've seen in my life before. But it's just not really one of the best erotic thrillers I've seen. It's not the very worst I've seen because I've seen some far worse ones than this movie. But again, there are just some small positives, but the rest of the film just kind of comes off as really bland and unoriginal. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Fatale. So I'm gonna give Fatale a D+. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my review of Fatale. If you did already see the film already in the US, or for those for the UK, if you've already seen it on Netflix, which just came out on Netflix a couple days ago, if you have seen the movie, I would really like to hear your thoughts of this film. Did you enjoy this one? If you did, that's okay by myself. Or weren't you really a fan of it? If you're like that, you're along with me. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for my next video. And this has been Falling to Media Corner signing off.